At ease. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the At Ease podcast. Today's special guest is Kadene and OJ Miller. They met back in February of 2000 while they were stationed aboard the USS Wasp LHD-1. They have been married for 18 years, and they have 4 amazing and beautiful children together. OJ is from South Carolina, and Kadene is from Jamaica. Good places. I got some good, some history with those places, so I love it. Kadene retired as an MMC after 24 years, and OJ retired as an MM Master Chief after 24 years of service. So they both did completed 24 years of service. Thank you for your service. And now y'all are actually veterans. It's a good sound, yes, veterans. Yeah. They both enjoy traveling, sports, gardening, and most importantly, they serve the Lord. They recently co-authored a book called We Won't Quit. It's a marital tools to push through difficult times. It's a great book to read. Great book to read. We'll get more about that later on in this book. But, hey, welcome. Thanks for, coming to the At Ease podcast, talking to us, and giving us some education at the same time. So thanks again. Thanks for having us. No problem. No problem. Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, y'all both got some amazing careers, things to talk about, things to discuss, but we really just want you, just your knowledge, just some education. So there's a lot of service members out there that they got married at a young age. My wife and I, we both got married at 21, and next year, January, it'll be 30 years of marriage. So we didn't have a book, we didn't have anything to go off of. It's just we just had to figure it out at the age of 21. We stationed together, kind of like y'all both met on the same command, same. Her and I was the same way. So I know her values, or now I do, but as a young service member, I really didn't know. I was just going off of looks and coolness and things of that matter, but I didn't really know a whole lot about her values growing up. So, Kadene, I asked you, at the 18 years of marriage, what could you tell a young MM2, Kadene Miller, or any young service member about marriage based off of your upbringing and your military experience?
I would tell them that it's going to be tough. It's not an easy road. There are challenges, especially coming from different backgrounds. I was born in Jamaica, raised by Jamaicans. He's from South Carolina, raised by his parents. And 2 different ways of being raised, and to bring that together, and we clashed. I didn't understand him. He didn't understand me. And so I would tell that individual, like I would tell my MM2 self, it's not going to be an easy road, but just keep pushing and keep loving and keep trusting God and believing. And there's times that you're going to be frustrated. Can't quit when you're frustrated. So that's the one thing I would definitely tell myself. And I would also tell myself to go to counseling. I would tell myself, get some counseling.
Get some counseling. And now to that point there, you got to think back then, we wasn't talking about going to counseling. We wasn't raised in going to counseling, especially, in, the African-American community. That wasn't something that we dealt with all the time. Even my sister, she's like a counselor today. And she talks about that, and she's been talking about it for years, and she actually has a thing called Black Brain Campaign. This so more us African Americans get educated about it's okay to go into counseling and getting help and seeking help. So, yeah, true indeed.
Definitely counseling. Like if I knew then what I knew now, I think that OJ would meet a healthier me, and I would meet a healthier him. And, but I mean, better late than never, I'm still in counseling. I think it's very important especially, because our mental health, when we're not in a healthy state, can affect your children. It can affect your spouse. It could just affect your growth in your environment, period. So I know the value of it. And that's another important thing, too. The individual that you're with got to find the value in it, or else they're not going to support. Yeah.
Mm. Okay.
Great stuff. So hi, I'm Jeff Barlow, go by JB, retired Command Master Chief, Navy through and through. Spent some time up in Virginia. I would, after reading y'all bios and absolutely impressive, I'm definitely going to purchase the book. So hopefully y'all can tell me how to purchase it. Coming from separate backgrounds, I kind of understand. I mean, I don't get it because my wife and I, we were both from the same hometown. So we were high school sweethearts, but it's like I don't get that great opportunity to, like, for Christmas, if we go home, we got to visit her mom, my mom. I just want to go home sometime and just visit my mom. But anyway, I applaud you guys. I applaud you, sis, for seeking help. My question for you guys, for both of y'all can answer is, how would you help or guide a sailor in, the dual military effect period? I mean, who goes to sea, who goes to shore, who we gonna push up the ladder first, who we gonna push up the ladder next? How did y'all manage that, and what advice would you give other sailors to be able to manage that process?
Man, great, outstanding question, man.
I would say this before you answer that question, OJ.
Yeah.
Answer it, but don't give too much, because you talk about that in the book. You talk about that in the book, and it was deep. It's deep. You gotta get the book. But go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm gonna buy the book. Period.
Yeah. You about it, but we're looking for. We're gonna have over 1 million viewers, so we need them to go purchase it too. But now I want to give them some good stuff, because I don't want nobody tuning in just for kind of ham-handed stuff. So I was watching my mom growing up, so I'm gonna give you a little bit of background about me. I watched my mom grow up, take care of me. I'm definitely a mama's boy. You know what I'm saying? So I was thinking my wife was going to be the one that take care of the kids. So when they were like, "Hey, OJ, Kadene got to go out to sea," I was like, "Oh yeah, that's nothing, man. I can do this. This is nothing." You know what I'm saying? I can do this with my eyes closed. This is nothing, man. You see, I'm bald right now, right? I just, just to tell a sailor, man, reach out for help too. You know what I'm saying? Don't just try to do it all by yourself. Reach out, talk to your spouse, man, and kind of know what's going on with the kids and all that stuff. Because some of the stuff that she did that, I didn't know she was doing. You know what I'm saying? Because that's something she just did kind of second nature. But like you said, when, guys are young, girls are young, they have kids, and they meet them on the ship, because guess what? 99% of the time they own the ship. So they're going to naturally meet somebody on the ship, and they might get married, they might have kids. So you got to have that deep conversation with that spouse or that loved one that you are dealing with, and say, look, hey, one of us going to probably have to go out to sea one of these days. And how what is your mental state? What is your mind at right now? Do we got family? Do we got friends? Do we trust these people? Do we really trust these people? And the crazy thing, by the good grace of God, man, I had some great people, man. I had the daycare people open the daycare up early for me. They opened the daycare up early. Wow. It was a blessing, man. I used to go there at 4:30 in the morning, and the daycare ain't even open yet. Matter of fact, they'll take my daughters from the daycare where they open up early and take them and ship them to the other daycare. So man, sometimes you just gotta have favor too. You know what I'm saying? I always say favor ain't fair, and I figure my whole 20-something years in the military, man, the favor was all. Barely just got into the Navy, scored a 31 on the ASVAB. Right now you can't get into the Navy. Well, they might take you now, but they're not taking too many people now. You know what I'm saying? With the ASVAB score of 31. But yeah, man, for us, going out to sea, and the scare. The God knew because I don't know if you remember when the Truman was supposed to be going on the cruise, but the day before they was about to leave, they canceled the cruise, and she was on the shelf. And look, that I knew before she knew. Somebody told me, said, OJ, your wife is not going on the cruise. And I said, God, you are real. You know what I'm saying? And from then on out, I think it was 2013, I think. And I was like, man, it was crazy. But I did get a taste of it, man, because she went out to see her a couple of times. And I brought my mom up there just for some backup. But I showed mom that, hey, OJ can do this job. You know what I'm saying? She'd never leave. She said, look, OJ, you had the milk bottles in your back pocket, the Pampers on the side, and you had both girls in your hand going down the stairs. I was just scared at 4 o'clock in the morning looking at you going down the stairs because I still wanted to take them to daycare and still do the same thing, but I just wanted mama there to have some backup. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, man, it was big, man. I wouldn't change this for the world, man. I know some people have some bad experiences and stuff like that, but everything worked out. I was stressed out now. I ain't gonna lie to you, man, because it's a stressful thing, because I still want to make rank too. And, in the book, I kind of say some of that stuff too, man, because I'm very competitive. With a name like OJ, I'm competitive. You know what I'm saying? I had to win. I got to beat them people. Then I got to beat my people too. You know what I'm saying? It was a lot of stuff going on. So my wife, she tell me, she the one made me make rank. You know what I'm saying? I always tell her that. She always made me where she got all my 3 and 2 together. She got my MM1 together. I mean, she made me study. She said, OJ, you're gonna study, you're gonna make a rank. So she kind of took a back seat to me. So you got that big time support set, right there with you, man, like she did. Now she say, look, she get on me now. I ain't gonna say everything was just, hey, but she's like, hey, I'm in your head, and that pissed me off sometimes. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to this thing and study, and I'm gonna show these boys that I can do this. So thank you, baby. That's all I got there. You got anything else?
Well, the part I will chime in on is, it was definitely tough for me to leave the kids. I think that's the hard, and that's in the book, so I ain't gonna go too deep into it. But I just had to, have faith that God knows the direction that He's trying to bring us in, and just trust it. But I'm telling you, it was not the most comfortablest thing ever. And then in my head, I, kind of looked at the fact. I looked at other leaders, and I would see them like I'll see a married up. They're both Master Chiefs. They're both leadership, and that both are high in rank. And my question will always be like, what did they have to sacrifice to get to this point, especially having a family, young kids? And I was always afraid of the kids because I would see relationships where the kids were affected by the constant shifting. And so that was one of the things that I prayed for. I'm like, God, just please let us be able to be with the kids and not have to be separated from them. I had a friend that her and her husband were deployed. And so she had to find somebody to take care of the kids. And she just had to trust the daycare provider to be like the full-time support for the children. And I was like, I don't want that. God, I don't want that. So it worked out. God blessed us to where, one person was always home. And even though we didn't have family here, God worked it out to where He put people around us. So we didn't have our family of birth with us, but we had our family of choice, the one that we chose to be around. And God just set that up for us and made it work. But for me, looking at his career, I was like, I got to push him. And I realized that both of us couldn't do it because I wasn't going to sacrifice the children. I said, pushed him forward, made sure he was good. I talked smack to him like, look, if it wasn't for me, but at the end of the day, I realized that his success is my success, and my success is his. And my path was different, because I have other goals and other dreams that I wanted to get to. So being in the military wasn't like the pinnacle for me anyway. It was a blessing, but it wasn't the pinnacle for me.
Amen to that. And I'm just
Yes.
I just met y'all on screen, and I'm like, I dig y'all. You know, like my brother say, you dig. I dig. And
Yeah.
I'm glad to see you left before 30 as well, OJ. It makes sense.
It did. It did.
I'm like JB. You know, it's kind of like I'm like, where they been? I need my wife to hear this. You know, you guys are saying a word that I realized I had to have in my marriage, and I hear both of you saying God. When you got married, it's both. I want both of you to answer this question. When you got married, where was God in your life, and at what point did you realize you needed Him in your marriage?
Oh man, that's big, man. You know what? So I was kind of scared of church. I knew I was supposed to have been going to church. My grandma, oh boy, you need to go to church. And I used to be running. I'd be at the church, then I'd go run. You know what I'm saying? I'd go run outside the church. You know what I'm saying? So when I met my wife, you know, they were big. You know, they're big in the church, man. And I'm like, I went home. She even know it. I was dating her for a long time and all that kind of good stuff. And I went home and I got baptized. You know what I'm saying? And she even know it. And I came back. She was like, I said, babe, I got baptized. She's like, you know what that mean? I said, no, man, but I'm going to tell you, the spirit, something came over me, man, and it grabbed me, you know what I'm saying? And it pushed me on up there. So from there on out, we was taking all kind of courses through the church and all kind of stuff, man. We was already kind of linked in that church. And not saying we did everything right all the time, but we knew where our bread and butter was, you know what I'm saying? And if we needed something, we know where the source, we know where to plug in at, you know what I'm saying? We knew how to plug in to get it back on track. You know what I'm saying? So I always say, hey, you know what I'm saying? I say favor ain't fair sometimes, and I know God looking down on us, man, because I'm like, man, God, you did. I came in E1 all with E9, wifey, she did good too. I mean, it's a blessing, man. I can't even describe it, man. God is true, man. He definitely with us 1,000%. You know. So, you know, wifey touching me because I get deep into it, man. Because I'm like, man, because like I said, the one time we was like this, but God said, nah, I need that yoke to come back together. You know what I'm saying? I can't, you know, because you know your flesh, you're fleshed out sometimes. You know what I'm saying? If you let your flesh, he'll bite you. You know, and I said, Ty talked to me the other day. Yeah, it was kind of funny what he said. He said, man, I never seen you mad. I said, dude, you don't even know. You know what I'm saying? Because I can be smiling, man. And, you know, my heart is always smiling. But I can be wanting to rip somebody's head off. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's the same thing with wife. I said, look, babe. And she know I'm like I can get you mad, but I'm the peacemaker too. You know what I'm saying? I can get you. You be like, man, I'm ready to rip his head off. And then, you know, God will talk to me and say, look, you got to go make peace with that. You know what I'm saying? Because that ain't the way to go with it. I
will say that for me, when we were dating, like you said, we were on a WASP together. So most of our little quality time was spent either in his car or my car, and on the weekends, you know, we may go down to the Navy Lodge and get the room, and then we would go to church, like, you know, and we got our first apartment together, and yes, we were shacky. We did shack. My mom, you know, gave me the business on it, but we shacked for a little bit, and it wasn't easy because I knew in my heart that it wasn't the right way to live. And it was that relationship, being in that apartment together. Yeah, we were excited that we were together, you know, sleeping on the floor in some comforters. But I knew at the end of the day that I always said, like, if I die right now, where are my souls going to go? Because we're not living the right way, you know? And then, you know, finally he said he'll tell people that I kind of made him marry me. Because I kept telling him, I was like, I can't continue to live this way. It's just, my soul is not feeling at ease with it. So eventually, you know, he did ask me, we did get married and so forth, you know, but God was the center.
Yeah.
God was the center. And, you know, like, even though I wasn't at my church, I would still pay my tithes to my church up there in New Jersey. And he'll say, well, why are you giving them money? And I'm like, look, you have to listen, everything you give, you will get back. 'Cause that's the way I was raised. My mom taught me that. And I saw it happen in her life. So I'm going to type this. If I get paid, if I get extra money, I'm giving that 10%. And I said, trust me, watch us grow. Watch us grow from giving back. Because if we keep it, then we'll be like the individual in the Bible that took his talent and buried it and grew nothing from it.
Yeah,
Yes.
but you know what? And I did grow from that because I started sending money to South Carolina.
He
too.
did.
You know what I'm saying? So it was big, and you know, man, they would write me letters and all kind of stuff like, okay, and I was getting that out of my heart. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like, oh man, I want some accolades. It was just the fact that I was feeding off her, and I said I knew how it was, and E1, E2, all the way up, man. Everything. I mean, for the real estate stuff too, man. It was just coming back like 1,000-fold. You know, so
Blessings just kept pouring in. And I was telling him, I was like, "What? Look at my mom. Look at her life. Like that lady will never be hungry because you give her a dime and you come back and she has $10. She said she liked to turn her hand, so that's how she raised me to turn my hand, but always give back. So that's was in the midst of our relationship. And sometimes he said I overdo it because I want to give. I feel like what blessing that God gives me is not just for me, but it's supposed to bless somebody else.
Right.
That's right.
Right.
it's big. Man.
Thank you.
I can't even explain it, man. I can't. If I tried, I want to explain it. I want to, but I can't.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, believe me, it's so important, and I had to realize that, you know, OJ, my wife is like your wife. I'm growing through her, so I'm like JB. I need a copy of that book so I can see the rest of the story. So I'm really looking forward to it. So Ty gonna make sure we get that information on how to get a book.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I really enjoying this conversation. Like I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah.
Chastain Hollis just came on. She retired Sergeant First Class in the Army. Chastain is also like you all. She's mill, 24 years in the Army, her and her spouse. We got a good core, good synergy, good people on this podcast. So, Chastain, this is OJ and Kadene Miller. We they talking. They giving us some and stuff that I know that you can relate to.
The video to work. So I've been listening.
Right. Yeah, and I know that some of the stuff that they're talking about, you can relate to being mill to mill, you know, for that long period of time.
Absolutely. My husband and I were reading through the bios, and him and I were both curious about how it is for you guys when you deploy. So for us, they'll allow one of us to stay in the rear, like if we have kids and stuff, and the other to deploy, or we can deploy together. But when you guys have to go out on that ship and stuff, like, do you have to go out there together, or can you split it up?
So we've been really blessed. I will always say that we have been so blessed because we've never both been deployed. It's always one person is here while the other one is doing their sea, you know, they sea tour. So that worked in our favor. And I think OJ started it first. And then after I had the kids, because on my one shore duty, that's when I had both girls. Because I realized, you know, my mindset was in the military because, you know, they always had this thing that the girls come on the ship, they get pregnant and they leave. So I had it right here all the time that I can't be a statistic. I have to make it do here and prove to them that me as a woman can come here and not get pregnant and do my duty. But I think what that did was kind of mess with my clock a little bit. So when I got on shore duty, I was like, okay, we got to pump these two kids out. And I know that sounds a little crazy. So we had the two girls on shore duty. But I think also too, like mentally, I wasn't healed. I was still in in that process when they said, you have to go to the ship and the ship is going to be deploying. And that kind of like broke me a little bit, you know, but at the end of it, we've been blessed to never have to be deployed together. Yeah, that would have been tough.
My husband and I were the same. We were so blessed throughout our careers, and we never deployed at the same time, and we actually were able to be stationed in the same spot.
Yes.
Except for when he was on recruiting duty. That was the hardest time. And then I did a year in Korea. But other than that, like, we were together. We have friends that have been married 15 years and haven't even lived in the same house together.
Yes.
They were on opposite deployments.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
That's great that you guys were able to have it like that.
Absolutely.
Yes. It's outstanding.
It's good stuff. Good stuff. So I'll talk about the book again. We Won't Quit. Get it. You get it on Amazon. It's out there. Do not hesitate. Get the book. We Won't Quit. Marital Tools to Push Through Difficult Times. In the book, I started reading it. Now I kind of jumped around. I went straight to y'all chapter that y'all wrote. I wanted to hear what y'all got to say. And I read it, and I'm gonna give a little part of it, but I'm not trying to give too much. For one, the book talks about different scenarios, like it's different situations that's going on. As I'm reading the book, I said, man, they can write a movie about each chapter of this book, because it goes from like a guy being a mama's boy, you know, somebody dealing with some depression, you know, this how OJ and I talk, you know, when I read his part of it, I'm like, man, that's me. You know, like I come into the military and my mindset is always like, you got to win. You got to win. You got to win. And you cannot give up. You can't give up. Same thing you was talking about, Kadene. So OJ is like a success story. The dude came in the Navy as an E1 and made E9 by his 16 years. Wow. That's a success story. You know, somebody like him is on track to be like the McPine, you know, in the Navy, because he made Master Chief so early, but that was just work. And yeah, he was there at the house, but his majority of his focus was on advancing, work. And that's just sometimes the environment that we come from. We're like, well, we can't fail. We got to keep doing. And as you're saying, like, oh yeah, I could take care of these kids, but you had to get like, well, I need to have my mom here too, because I know I can do it. But I know I got that safety net with her being there. You know, Kadene out here, I got to still make it happen. I still got to be competitive. We're pushed to that limit and not even realizing like what we're doing is either right or wrong. You know, and we talk about it all the time. And I'm going to ask you this question, OJ.
Yeah.
Now that you retired, how would you tell somebody, you know, work and family life balance? You know, because right now, the way you was charging just work. And again, once you make Master Chief, it's like, well, I don't have nothing else to do now. So what do I do? Now, hey, y'all, I'm back. Let's go do A, B, C, and D. Let's go hang out. I'm back now. But during that time, you were steady work. Knowing what you know now, would you do the same thing? Because again, I don't say it's nothing wrong. It's just how you were built. But would you do the same thing, or how would you balance it out? Because people still make Master Chief, they take over more family than work. They still do. They still do. So what would you tell a young service member?
I'll probably be doing the same thing, but to make things right, I will make sure I'm talking to my spouse, talking to my family, talking to the kids, and say, look, this is what I got going on. You know, sometimes I would just do it, and I'm thinking they're supposed to know what I'm doing, and they don't know what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to make rank. I'm trying to, we got some people that look up to you. You got people looking down to you. You say, hey, OJ, I need you here. Why are you not here? Oh, my kid had this over here. You know what I'm saying? So once you get to that rank, you like, man, I was in that same position. And I'm going to tell you, I always had, that thing for a sailor. Like, I didn't care if I made E8, E9, E10, whatever. I always had that in my heart. Like, I know what you're going through, man. You know what I'm saying? Mm. And I never try to chastise, hey, man, I can't believe you ain't here. I might say something make it kind of funny, but if it was some real serious stuff going on, man, I'm 100% with you, man, because I'm like, hey man, I don't need your mental all messed up. And we still got to get this work done. We got 20 other guys. We can hold the fort for a second. Hey, but we just need your back. You know what I'm saying? Let's get your back. When you get back, I need you to give me 100%. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, just talking. Make sure you're talking to your family, man. Make sure you're talking to your kids. The kids know early, man. They're not dumb. You know what I'm saying? They know what's going on. So don't say that. You know, say hey, they don't really know what's going on. I would always say, hey, talk to them kids. Talk to your spouse. You know, especially if you're a dual military too, man. I mean, because you got to see what's going on with your other spouse. Your spouse say, hey, what you doing? I mean, are we trying to do this thing, or are you just gonna take a back seat? Because, like I said, wife, she from Jamaica now. She want to win too. You know what I'm saying? And it took some firepower behind her not to like, hey, OJ, I'm doing my thing too. Because truth be told, she probably is a better master. She would have been a better master chief than me. You understand what I'm saying? But she knew. I mean, I was digging a little deep. You know what I'm saying? I was like, you know what? I actually want this for real. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, you know, it's kind of like, you know, pushing that guy out doing sports. Like, okay, this guy, this gonna be our poster guy. You know what I'm saying? We gonna put him out there. He the spokesman, and I really appreciate her, you know, doing that for me, man. Because, like I said, if she wanted to do it, she could have did that. You know what I'm saying? And been way better than me, because she just had that fire. And she ain't taking no for an answer. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely appreciate that. So
if I could add to it also, you know, for just like how he wanted to win, I wanted to win too. And there's times he's competitive, but there's times when the competition was in between us too. You know, but and we're both strong-minded individuals, and then we could go at it. But I had to realize that, you know, I have to take it. We can't both do it. I would tell him, I was like, we both can't do it. It's doable. We can do it, but there's going to be a cost, and I'm not willing to sacrifice them. But in my heart, I wanted to make rank. I wanted to advance. But I realized because of the duties that I took and so forth, it was going to affect my career. So why not just him? He's doing good. Like, God is just like constantly shining on him. Let him, if he could take it and run with it and make it far, why not? Because we both can't do it. I don't want us both to do it.
Bill, that's so. Hey, great stuff. Man, I fall in love with y'all every second I'm on this call with y'all. You two outstanding people. So Kadene, I want to come back to you and kind of ask this question, because, you know, as a Navy guy, as a Master Chief, I don't know. People say I know everybody. I know a ton of people, but I get a lot of calls sometimes, and these are normally senior people, chiefs, senior chiefs, first classes, who are at the, you know, either at the 20-year mark or a little bit over it, but they had children later in their careers, and they want advice on whether they should continue to serve or should they go home. And the one thing that I always kind of talk to my proteges about, this is what I say to them. I said, okay, close your eyes. Let's pretend you're in the middle of the Persian Gulf on a 7-month deployment. In the middle of a 7-month deployment. Can you picture yourself in your burden at night in your wreck without your child? And in most cases, they cannot. And they be like, oh, yep, I'm done. So my question to you is, if a sailor come to you, you know, whether they junior or the senior ones, like I said, how would you guide them, or what advice would you give them in regards to choosing to continue to serve or let it go and be with their children and family? So
I have been in that position before where, a sailor would come to me and they're stressed out. They're at their wits' end. But at the end of the day, they know they got to take care of their family. So I would ask them, check their financial. Where are you at with your finance? If you were to leave the military right now, are you ready? And another thing, too, let me go back a little bit. When my young sailors would come on board, one of the things that I would talk to them about is while they're going forward in the military, that at any moment, your military career could end. It could take, maybe you get hurt and you get a med board, or something, happen to where they have to put you out the military. So you always have to look at it like this is not permanent. This is a temporary process. So every day that you're in, you're doing something to make sure that your finances are going to be good. You're adding money. I will tell them all the time, hide money from yourself. Put it in an area to where you have no access, and build on it and prepare yourself for being outside the military. Now, if you have what you need, right, and you still want to stay in, you stay in. But then you got to look at the cost. I always tell them, look at the cost. Look at the cost of it. Now, can you afford to be on your own, taking care of your children? Because you still going to have them same bills. You still going to have daycare. You still going to have your car payment. You still going to have your mortgage. All those things are still going to come. Are you in a position to manage that? And if you're not, then you're going to have to build a relation. And you want to stay in the military, make sure you build a relationship and make a relationship to where you could, get with somebody who could help you out with the children. I said, and the one thing for me, I would tell them, God always showed up for me. He always provided whatever I needed, whenever I needed. Like half of the times I wasn't really comfortable leaving my kids with other people, but we had to. We were in a position to where we had no choice. I was gone. Jay was in school, finished out his master's. And then he was working at firefighting school. And y'all know how firefighting school is.
Oh, yeah.
You got to be there at 4:30 in the morning. So how is it that this dude at 4:30 in the morning going to find daycare? Well, he got the gift of gab, and he know how to communicate with people, and they love him anyway. So them ladies took the kids in, put them to bed, and then bring them over when it was time to go to the daycare. So that was God showing up and trusting God. So those are the things that I would share with them. Make sure you look at your finance. Make sure you plan for tomorrow, even though it's not promised. And make sure you have God in the middle.
Thank you. Awesome.
I'd like to ask you guys, I know what part of your answer is going to be already because you're so strong in your faith. But what are your resiliency tools, and what do you do to manage stress when times get tough? Because I can imagine you guys had quite a few in your situation throughout your career.
Oh, go ahead. I go ahead. Look, let me be blatantly honest with you. It's God. But look, I just called the VA today, and I said, I need some mental health counseling again. You know what I'm saying? So they don't have my PCM and everything set up yet. And they'll say, look, OJ, if you need it like right now, you can go to the, some kind of urgent care thing they got. I said, well, I can hold on. I just need that. You know what I'm saying? And they're like, you sure? You sure we don't want to get off the phone with you right now? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's some honest, like this just happened a couple hours ago. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so you always got to be thankful. You got to say, okay, OJ, what's going on with you? You know what I'm saying? Is everything there? Who you need to go talk to somebody? So yeah, I'm believing in the word and everything, but sometimes you got to bring that human aspect in there too. And say, hey, that happened today. You know what I'm saying? I'm always believing in the word. God is true. God is everything. But hey, I call mental health people at the VA today. Hey, true story. You know what I'm saying? So
I know for me,
don't realize just how much the transition to retirement is going to affect you. Like, it's a huge thing. That is your life, day in and day out. And I know a lot of people say you're supposed to leave work at the door when you go home, but I was just never that person. And so to me, it is like your whole day, and you're like, it's the uniform. Like I even missed when I first retired, I missed putting the uniform on. Like it's the little thing.
No. No. Listen, for me, retirement, I think I was very fortunate because I retired during the pandemic. So I was already like at home. I had surgery, so that started it. And then after I had surgery, I was pretty much home. And then when I did have to go to work, I would just go to work to accomplish the little thing that I had to do there because they done truncated everything because they didn't want us to be there. So it kind of helped with my transition to where, like, I didn't have to struggle with what I was going to wear, how I was going to dress, because I was already in my civilian clothes, you know? So that was a blessing for me. But just going back to talk about the mental health thing, you know, for me, I think that's what helped me through the military because especially before having the kids, I was a driver. I was driving and I was on the fast track. But once the kids came, it's like I had this big shift and I don't believe I had any control over it. It just shifted for me and that was the direction that I had to go in. And so one of the things that I had, you know, when we have kids as women, we go through postpartum depression and having that, you know, later on the women that have kids, they were able to stay longer, you know, with their kids. Well, that wasn't the case for us. It was 6 weeks and then you back at work, you know, so that mental health thing for me was a big one because that hit me really hard when I had to go back to work, when I had to drop the kids off here. And then I was doing that and still like I was a full-time parent, full-time work, you know, and then you gotta perform and you gotta be 100%. Work wants 100%. They don't want part of you. You gotta give them 100%. And then what's left is what you give to your family. And I did that for the whole 24 years. And it was very stressful. So for me, getting help when I realized what value it adds to my life, I had to do it. I had to do it. And then once I got it, and then you just pouring yourself out, you know, on a daily basis, and it helps so much because I was like a bottled mess and we didn't know how to talk to each other. He was raised one way, I was raised one way. You tell my mom about some counselor, she said, I got Jesus. You know? So like that was not in our vocabulary, but I knew how valuable it was for me because it's either I keep the mental health issue that I have and it affect my children to create, you know, make them neurotic, make them crazy, because it does affect the children biggest, affect my spouse. I was like, nah, I got to get help. And sometimes I'm like, you know, it becomes so much because I have to put on this big face, like everything is perfect, everything is good. I'm at work, I got to perform. I can't bring them my stuff, but I'm, you know, dying on the inside. So that mental health piece was big for me.
Yeah. I think
that helped me to survive.
Female soldiers that have a lot of guilt because there's so much expected of us at work and performance and all that. And we don't want to let our leadership down. We don't want to let our soldiers down, and we want to be the best that we can be. But we also want to be the best for our families too. And sometimes that tug of war can get to be a lot.
Yeah. Yep. Because there's times when they just got what was left. And it wasn't much.
Exactly.
The book is great. It's a really good book. Again, We Won't Quit. Please get it. It's in Amazon. You know, it's a great read. And it talks about, again, just different stories that we deal with in marriage. You know, some stuff I didn't deal with, but I knew of. You know, I knew someone else that dealt with it. And how y'all came together to do it was awesome. That was really awesome. So, OJ, you in the real estate game for over 17 years. You know, getting master's degrees and doing all these great things, and you still took the time to get a real estate license. You know, That's a blessing, man. And I told you about me when I was an E3 receiving BAQ and VHA. That's what it was called at that time back in the day. And now it's called BAH. But as an E3, and all I would continue to do was rent here, rent there, and never thought like I could buy a house and, and just sit on it. Because like my first place I rented, it was me and 3 other guys. We were paying $1,600 a month in Hawaii. So, and not knowing, I probably wouldn't be able to afford that house at the time based off the VAQ, VHA that I did receive, but I still could have got something, a house, home ownership at a young age. Granted, I did it 12 years in the Navy, but what I know now, it's like, wow, I could have been done this, but just wasn't educated on it. So what type of things do you see just being out there as a real estate agent, and what can a young service member, what do they need to know to purchase their first home?
Oh man, that's big. I mean, you talking about generational wealth right there, man. You talking about making sure your credit score is good, man. Checking your credit score. There's stuff out there free that you can check your credit score. Make sure you got, know what you got. Make sure you ain't going just charging up something, getting credit cards and stuff like that. Once you get that financial thing and know how to save, and how to put your money away to save for a down payment or save for closing costs. Just start reading stuff. Look on YouTube. There's a lot of stuff on YouTube, man. How to buy a house, different type of loans. But we're blessed, man. Being doing the VA loan, you don't have to pay a down payment. You don't pay any private mortgage insurance. You can do first time home buyer stuff programs that get you closing costs. It's so big. The big thing about it, I wish y'all kind of knew early on too, even though I was in real estate, but I was kind of doing the Navy thing and the real estate, just buying a duplex, man, and you living in one side and renting out the other. You know what I'm saying? Your mortgage, $1,200, you charging whatever, you charging $1,500 on the other side. Right. You know what I'm saying? So now you living for free. You know what I'm saying? And your utilities is probably paid for. So there's a lot of things out there, man. Like a big thing is, like you said, education, man, credit. It's a lot of things you can do. Freeze your credit. You know what I'm saying? Make sure nobody don't go in there for your credit security. All Equifax, TransUnion, Experian, you can do that for free. You know what I'm saying? You can Credit Karma. It's not going to be accurate, but you can at least have a Credit Karma for free. And then most credit card companies give your credit score for free anyway. So it's no reason why you don't know your credit score. And that's the biggest thing, man. And then having money saved up. Don't just think you're just going to walk in and get a house for free. Right. As long as you have some money, saved up, it's not that much, man. It's crazy that you can probably buy a house about the same amount you can buy, rent a house. You know what I'm saying? You got your home inspection, which is going to be $400 to $500. You got your appraisal, which is going to be $500 to $600. You know what I'm saying? Then you got your other little inspections. And guess what? If you get some seller concession, they might give you $10,000, $15,000. So it's a lot of stuff. Get with a good agent. Talk to some people, man. You can build generational wealth as an E1, E2, and you don't even know that you can do it. And guess what? Now, by the time you get 15, 16 years in, you might have 3 or 4 properties. And like I said, I wish I could have did that too. But now I'm telling you, you can do it, man. And you're going to be like, man, that's crazy. Now, there's so much stuff now. You got traveling nurse that you can rent stuff out. You got, Airbnbs, man. You got so much technology now. You got the keyless entries that you can change the locks. You ain't even got to be there. You know what I'm saying? Right. There's so much money out there. Like I said, it's not all about money, but you kind of building that wealth. Now you transition, because guess what? I don't care how good you are. The Navy's going to get you out of there some kind of way. And you can't stay in the Navy all your life. So, and I had to realize that, and I thought I'm telling you, man, my wife would tell you, I'm a lifer, man. I'm 24, I'm telling you, it's crazy that God twisted my mind and said, no, OJ, you can actually do a little something. I was 30 years, I already know. And Ty tell you, Ty had even saw it and said, OJ, you a CMC man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. OJ, you're a CMC. You're not just a regular ML man. You're a CMC. And I had put the package in, and like you said, I looked at myself in the mirror one morning, man, and said, OJ, what are you really doing this for? and I couldn't answer the question. So I went back to the CMC and the XO and the CO and said, I'm pulling my package. And I didn't have any regret, man. But for us, I'll just say that piece to say, you know what I'm saying, you can go forward in your career. You got to get out sometime. And the housing, buying a house and doing that kind of stuff can prepare you till you won't have to work no more. Guess what? You got your military retirement check, you got your disability, and guess what? You got some rental, payments coming in to your account. Passive income, man. I get excited, man. It's a lot of stuff that we can do, man. I mean, from TSP. TSP is one of the best things out there for young sailors. Now they got the, you know what I'm saying, they matching your stuff up. You know what I'm saying? So why not do that? A lot of people don't know you can do Roth IRAs and you can take that money out and put a down payment. If you just needed money, your Roth IRA for a certain amount of years, you can take that money out and do it. You can do it for school. 529 plans, man. You know what I'm saying? Custodial accounts, brokerage accounts. There's so much stuff out there that you can pull your stuff out and make sure you're good. But that housing, I'm going to tell you this. The economy can be falling. Everything can be falling. But them house prices is going to maintain and they're going to be steady or they're going to keep going up. The interest rate might fall and your house prices might go up. You know what I'm saying? Interest rate might go up. House might come back down a little bit, so you might have a little bit of playroom. But as long as you have that playroom, it's ball game, baby. You can play ball all year with that real estate thing. Yeah. So if you got any questions, man, I don't charge anything for anything, man. I can try to tell you, his sailors come down and they use me as a real estate agent. But guess what? They got money back because I made sure they was good because they asked the right questions. They came to see the right people. And some people ain't gonna do that. Some people gonna think they need to get paid, but I already know who paid me. You know what I'm saying? And you can't pay me enough. So hey, like I said, man, I love this. And look, and I'm gonna tell you one thing. I got a great support. Wifey, man, she know I love it too. And she like, boy, you so much in love with this stuff right here, man. Because I'm telling you, and I'm gonna stop right here. Because this is one of the biggest decisions you will ever make in your life. You know what I'm saying? It's one up under, making Lord Jesus Christ your Savior. And then this right here is the biggest decision you do is getting married. And this, because you're paying $300,000 or $400,000. And you say I got a 30-year or 15-year mortgage. And that's big because that can hurt you or help you.
Get the book. Get the book. We Won't Quit. It's a great read. It's a great read. Yeah, we won't quit. So again, y'all, thank y'all for coming out. I appreciate it.